Yo, 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 yo. What's up, YouTube? What's up, you boxing maniacs? True that boxing. Back with another one and everything. And before I get into it, y'all already know what to do. Throw a jab right at that subscribe button and throw another jab right at that bell icon there to the right and hit all, so you can be notified on all the boxing content and all the boxing news that I drop. And don't forget to throw a straight and true jab, booyah, right at that like button and everything. Alright, let's get straight into it. Let's give props to Canelo Alvarez for beating Callum Mundo Smith every single round. It looked like Callum Mundo Smith had no power. His timing was off. It looked like he was in there for survival. He did not look like the crisp, sharp fighter that we have seen in his highlight videos. He did not have his punching power. He didn't have his timing together. He just looked like he was there to survive. And then again, Canelo's a good fighter. He just could have made it look like Callum Smith looked at like a fighter that wasn't in there to fight, and just looked like a fighter that was in there to survive, just because Canelo is good and he does have punching power, and he know how to fight. Canelo does know how to fight, and he does have punching power. But people that are real Canelo fans, Canelo is smart like Mayweather's. A lot of people said Mayweather was cherry picking his fights. A lot of people say Canelo is cherry picking his fights. Now, I used to didn't be a Mayweather fan until he fought Canelo. Canelo was at his peak, and he was beating everybody, and he was strong. Sentiment was like it was his time. It was the new man. It was the new era. I said Canelo versus Mayweather. Mayweather may lose this fight because Canelo's a young, up-and-coming fighter, and he's packing power. This is going to be Mayweather's toughest fight. Mayweather made that fight look easy. He took Canelo to school, beat him down, made him look horrible. Styles make fights. That's when I said Mayweather wasn't cherry picking his fights when he fought Canelo, because Canelo was a beast. And Mayweather shut that shit down. Now, who has Canelo really fought? He fought Kovalev, but Kovalev wasn't a bone crusher. He has been defeated three times by that time. He fought Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley already had about 8 or 9 losses by that time. He was no longer sugar. He fought Amir Khan. Amir Khan with a glass jaw. He fought Rocky Feldon. Tapped him every time to the body and went down. But he hasn't fought a fighter in the limelight like your David Benevides, your Jamal Charlos, Demetrius Andre Boo, Caleb Plant. A lot of people didn't know about Callum Smith. I watched Callum Smith highlights. I watched Callum Smith fight a little bit. And if you look back at one of my last blogs, I was giving Callum Smith his props. You know, but Canelo shut that down. And for me to be a Canelo fan, which I give Canelo props, I'm not hating on Canelo. He's star power like Mayweather's. He's winning every fight. His only loss was to Mayweather. But a lot of people saying that he's picking his fights. And I didn't become a Mayweather fan until he fought Canelo and beat Canelo. And that's what I want to see Canelo do, for me to become a Canelo fan. I want to see him fight fighters like David Benevides, Jamal Charlo. You know, I'm not going to say Demetrius Boo. I'm not going to say Caleb Plant. Two fighters to really beat right now will be David Benevides and Jamal Charlo. Those are two hot fighters right now. Caleb Plant is a champion. But if I see Caleb Plant and Jermall Charlo fight, I give the fight to Jermall Charlo. If I see Caleb Plant and David Benevides fight, I give the fight to David Benevides. And David Benevides got a message for Canelo. 168, that fight has to happen. And David Benevides is ready. Fight me. That's what David Benevides says. Fight me. So Canelo is campaigning at 168. Go ahead and fight David Benevides. Don't call out Earl Spence Jr., who is a welterweight, and you say you guys can meet at a catchweight at 160. No, that's not fair. You're the bigger guy. You're the harder puncher. That's not fair. Fight a real middleweight. David Benevides said that fight has to happen. That fight needs to happen. And for me to become a Canelo fan, he needs to beat likes of a David Benevides or a Jermall Charlo, a star fighter. True enough that Calamundo Smith was a WBA champion. Everybody didn't know about Callum Smith either. He's a UK fighter. And it looked like he was here to survive. It looked like he had no punching power. His timing was off. It just didn't look like he looked on his highlights. And that can be just because Canelo is who he is. And style makes fights. And Canelo shut that shit down. But for me to become a fan of Canelo, beat David Benevides. And David Benevides says that fight has to happen. That fight will happen. So Canelo, it's time to fight a star in the 168, such as David Benevides, Jermall Charlo, Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andre. My top two out of those four is Jermall Charlo and David Benevides. So I want to see that fight next. David Benevides said that fight will be next with him and Canelo. So that will be a fight. If Canelo can win against David Benevides or Jermall Charlo, I will be a fan of Canelo. Until he fights that star fighter, I just give Canelo his props, and yeah, he can fight, he has punching power, and he can bang. But on his resume, he has no star shine as far as who he has beaten on his resume. Kovalev was done. Sugar Shane was done. Amir Khan got a glass jaw. James Kirkland, he's a somewhat fighter. And the list goes on and on and on. Edison Lara kind of outboxed Canelo to me. I will give that fight to Edison Lara, so that fight was controversy. So we'll see. That's all I have for you guys. True That Boxing giving you the latest news, the latest breakdown. David Benevides should be next for Canelo. David Benevides said that fight should happen. That fight has to happen. It must happen. He's at 168. He's the #1 contender. Canelo has the belt. That fight has to happen. Let's see what happens in 2021. Will it be Canelo and David Benevides? Do I become a Canelo fan? We'll see. That's all I have for you guys. True That Boxing is on to the next. Peace out.